Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast, and today I am so excited for you to meet Jennifer Ford Berry. She helps people organize their homes and their lives so they can just find more space, time, energy, and money for the people and things that really matter most to them. She's passionate about helping you create a home and life that you love and believes that we each have our own unique purpose to fill, and so you just need to be able to remove a lot of that clutter to do that. She's also a certified professional organizer and productivity coach. She's a best-selling author, national speaker, and the host of the Make Room Show. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I know that was a super brief overview of all the amazing things you've done. Like when you say author, you've got 4 books. You've spoken all over the place. I think you just held a retreat recently as well. So I would love for you to share with my listeners kind of your journey and your story of what brought you to this place of everything you're doing.
Well, I didn't start out on this journey. So as many of us say that, right? But I started out in corporate America and thought I would stick there forever. But after 9/11, I was laid off from my corporate job. I was a brand new mom, and I just kind of had time and an opportunity to pause and think to myself, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And the fact that I had become a mother really kind of had a lot to do with the fact that I did not want to go back to corporate America. I wanted to have flexibility with my schedule. And I also wanted to wake up excited every day. And I wasn't finding that with the regular 9-to-5 job. I started this kind of like inward look and kept asking myself, what am I passionate about? What are my skills? The typical questions we ask ourselves on a job hunt. And the one thing that never occurred to me, and this is, over 20 years ago, Daniela, is that I love to organize. But at that point in life, I didn't know anybody else doing it for a living. And it never occurred to me to be a career path, and which is a powerful part of my story, because you might be thinking of something as a listener that you're really good at, and you might not know anybody doing that for a living, but you could be the first. And that's kind of how I felt. So I started doing, closets, pantries for friends and family down in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I was living at the time. And I had no idea what was in store for me. Basically, what started out as an organizing business soon became a weekly newsletter that eventually became my first book. That book did exceptionally well, and it led me to a 4-book series for that publisher. So I was writing books one after the other, and that kind of gave me a platform for speaking. Then I got into, doing a lots of speaking for other people's events, as well as hosting and organizing my own events. And I realized that I did have a love for speaking, where, again, I wasn't planning on being a speaker. I wasn't planning on being an author, but it just kind of unfolded. And I think the reason why it did is because I was working with my specific, unique set of skills and gifts that I was born with. And I had purpose and passion behind it. I knew that was why I was put on this earth, was to help people realize that life is not about stuff. We're all coming in empty-handed. We're all leaving empty-handed. And so we need to have a bigger purpose in our life besides collecting things and spending money on things and everything that goes along with, typical consumerism. And then I ended up probably it was about 3 or 4 years ago now, I took a pause. I got a little bit burnt out from writing books, and I still was working with lots of in-person clients. And I went to a conference up in Toronto, and it kind of changed everything for me. And I realized that I wanted to take my message to a deeper level, because all of my previous books were about basically the how to get organized, like the step-by-step approach. I covered every area I could think of in these books and had written about how to organize this and that. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, I need to get the message through to people why they should get organized, because that would be more motivating. And I decided that I wanted to write a Christian based book. And what was funny at the time is my publisher did not want me to do it. So we had to part ways, which was a whole obstacle. And I ended up taking the rights to all those previous books back. And then I signed with a new publisher and wrote my newest book, Make Room, and kind of took the typical professional organizing gig to a different level with coaching online, and realizing that what I was doing this whole time was coaching women. They thought that they were hiring me just to, organize their closet, but we would get in these in-depth conversations about everything else life had going on for them. And I really learned that it's all tied together, that there's so much clutter, but it comes in all shapes and sizes. It's physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional. And if we don't deal with that clutter, then we're really not going to live our life to the fullest potential that we have. And so that's where I'm at now. It's been a couple of decades, and it's just been a lot of twists and turns. So I'm a typical entrepreneur. I own some other stuff on the side, but my main passion is organizing for sure.
No, I love your story, Jennifer. And I love that you share that you didn't listen to the doubt of, if nobody else is doing it, it must not be a thing. Because I think when we're trailblazers, when we're starting something new, we look around and we let that dictate what we, even if it's contrary to what we know to be true, we think, well, if nobody else has done it, it must not have value. It must not be important. It might not be necessary, when in fact, just because it's not there, it's probably what so many other people, like you said, have been looking for. As well as the way you talk about stuff, it's so powerful, because it is so much more than just things. As you said, it's emotional. A lot of times, people hang on to items for reasons because, their third cousin gave it to them, and or they think it represents something bigger than what it does, or it's a coping skill. If they're trying to work through something, you cope with the way you organize, the way you kind of manage your things, the way you hold on to stuff. Or retail therapy, I'm sure you hear a lot about as well. People buy it because they're like, I had a bad day, and so I went shopping. And it is so transformative, the type of work you're doing. It's not just about the stuff, it's about transforming and organizing your life.
Yeah.
How do
I'm
you
glad you get that.
how do you help someone when they might come to you thinking, oh, I'm just going to make my closet look neater? How do you where do you start with them? Because that's, I think, sometimes the most overwhelming part for people. When they look at their stuff, they don't know where to start.
Yeah. And the thing that when people ask me, where should we start? I always ask this question: what is bothering you the most? Because if we can fix that space or that area of your life that is truly eating up your time and energy every single day, making you feel negative emotions, it's not worth it. It can be fixed. And I feel like once that area is fixed, they start to say, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I can do this. And they'll also start to recognize these positive emotions that come through from doing that. And they'll want more of that. And so I know if I can just get them past that first, 1 or 2 sessions, they're going to fly, and they're going to see the benefit by, this process.
Absolutely. So starting somewhere, picking the area that bothers you most, and finding success sounds like kind of that key that you can then transfer to any area. So if you're listening, depending on where you are, I've always heard two people say, start with a drawer. Like, everyone's got that one junk drawer in their kitchen or something, and set a timer for 10 minutes. And just by starting with one drawer is probably where you can get that momentum a little bit too, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing about it is a lot of women nowadays, they don't have hours and hours to tackle projects in their home. They're super busy and their schedules are packed. So you really do have to look at your calendar and say, where can I find 10 to 20 to 30 minutes and start to move the needle, even if you're not going to complete the project all the way.
And I hope you heard that. If not, stop, rewind, and listen to that again, because I think that's the thing. We look at, oh, I'm going to organize the basement or the garage or things like that. And we think we have to finish the whole thing in one shot. And that's not necessarily the case. And that's where I think we can either get paralyzed, or I don't know about you, but sometimes I get a little distracted and I start looking at things and going down the rabbit hole of, oh, going through drawers and whatnot. And so that's okay to give yourself that grace of, you just do what you do in that time spot and then you come back to it another time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think you can enjoy the process more if you know there's a start and end time.
Yeah, because it probably doesn't feel like it has to all be done at once. That perfectionism can be so paralyzing when it comes to these kind of things.
Absolutely.
So now, if you are any kind of listener to me, I talk about how that you decorate and organize your home as a part of your self-care, because the space we live in, the way we feel when we walk in that door, has a huge benefit on our stress, how we can kind of decompress at the end of the day, how we invite people over if we feel like our house is a warm, welcoming place, that type of thing. And so when you meet with clients, Jennifer, kind of what are some of the things, in addition to what area bothers you the most, kind of tips that you might give them to help maintain it? Because I think that's the other part, is people start, they organize, and then they fall back into those same old habits and routines that got them there before.
Yeah, maintenance is key really, truly. And what I've noticed lately is that a lot of my clients that struggle with maintenance are not giving themselves a home reset day. And that's crucial. You can't just keep going through life every day, running in and out of your house, running to work, running the kids, and never have a day where you just say no to other things and you have at least half of a day or maybe even 3 hours to go back, put your home in order, and also plan for the upcoming days that are going to be busy again, right? So it could be a Friday evening, it could be a Sunday, it could be a Wednesday morning. Everybody's schedule is different, but you need at least 3 hours a week to do a home reset. If you give yourself that gift, you will feel like at least you're staying somewhat on top of it. And the trick is, obviously, Daniela, you can't pick your home reset day and then scroll on your phone. You have to put your phone down, blare some music, light a candle, whatever you have to do to give yourself energy. And when I do this, I'll take a B12 vitamin, I'll put on my favorite music, maybe some energy oil, whatever it takes, because I know, okay, I have to get a lot done in 3 hours and I need that stamina to keep going. So prepare yourself and just be able to say, this is a gift I give myself. It's part of the self-care, really, because there's so many other things pulling at our attention and our schedule that we could always stay busy every day. And then you're going to get behind.
Right. And that boundary is key to not only blocking the time, but really focusing, not getting distracted, setting yourself up for success with your music, with your energy. Putting other distractions aside is going to be key to maintaining that. And I don't think it has to be your house is perfectly clean all the time. Organized just means where everything is. Everything has its place.
Yeah. Even if you don't have time for a deep clean, just picking up, just so there's not stuff that isn't, stuff that doesn't belong on the kitchen counter, stuff that doesn't belong on the kitchen table or on a chair in your bedroom, like putting your clothes away, just simple going around, putting things back where they belong.
Absolutely. I remember when the kids were young, you'd find that stray Lego in the carpet, but you had no shoes on. That was the kind of stuff that you're like, oh my God, I can't live like this.
Yes. Yes.
And so what are some of the things that you do to take care of yourself, your self-care, as well as your kind of own organization habits?
Yeah. First of all, I'm very, very, I don't know what the word, I'm good at time management. I can say that. I've done a lot of practicing of practicing different ways of time management. And I really think it's self-management. It's the ability to say yes to things, no to things, depending on what are my priorities for that season. I basically base my life every quarter roughly on a different set of priorities that I'm going to really dial in on. And then my schedule represents that. And I do, all sorts of things in order to make sure that I stick with it. But that is huge. My morning routine is a big thing, just so that I know where I'm going for the day, like give myself that time to just be me, reading, journaling, whatever it takes to start my day off the way I want it to keep going. I'm also like a really big person with my nighttime routine. I prioritize sleep, and I also can't get good sleep if I don't decompress. And so I don't take phone calls after 7 o'clock at night. I just have like a whole routine that I do for me. And that is something that I've done for years and years, because I'm not my best self if I don't get to bed on time. I'm just not. As far as other things, I make sure that my space is set up for success, whether it be the right food in the pantry so I'm not eating snacks, or if it's setting up, where my papers go on my desk. So when I sit down, it's not a complete and utter disaster. I just think that keeping order in your space in general helps free up mental clutter and increases your bodily energy. So to me, a decluttered space is huge. And then as far as that goes, I have, I'm kind of like the work hard, play hard mentality right now in my life, because my kids are both away. And I know when I'm here in New York, I'm working hard so that I can play hard when I go down south and see them. They're both in school in Florida. We go back and forth every roughly 6 to 8 weeks. And that's my happy place. And I know I won't be getting back to my happy place if I don't get stuff done here while I'm in town. So it's just a nice, I feel like when I can look at the bigger picture, I know how to break up all of my tasks in a way that makes sense for me. And the biggest thing, Daniela, is just living life on your own terms. I don't feel like I have to do it any certain way for anybody else. It's a rhythm that I've constructed for myself, and that gives me peace of mind.
Yeah. And I love that you share it was a practice. So many times we see the end result and we think, oh, it must be nice, like you just woke up and started living this way. And that's not the case. The fact that it took you time to set up, the way your time is structured, the boundaries that you have to be able to stay in that zone. And like you said, work hard. The work has to happen. It does happen, even if people only see that you're off traveling and that you're doing the fun. The work always happens. So I love that you share that behind the scenes, because so many times, like I said, we only see what we see on the outside and not knowing everything that goes into it.
So true. I mean, yeah, if you just look at my Instagram and see all these trips and stuff, you're not seeing that there's many times during the week where I'm coming from an in-person client right to this office to do more work and putting in late hours, so that because I do have a trip coming up, and it's just this kind of season that I'm in right now. And, it's something that I've worked hard to get to. So it takes a lot of time to get to your life to a point where your schedule makes you happy instead of feeling like you're on a hamster wheel.
Absolutely. Time and practice for sure. So your books, you've got 4 or 5 books and a planner. Where can they find them? I know you said you switched publishers. You talked about making room a little bit, but then you've got other ones about organizing now week by week, your money and business. Can you share a little bit about the books?
Yeah. So the Organize Now series is all a doer's approach. It's a step-by-step guide. It literally walks you through all sorts of things. There's everything from space and all the rooms in your home to, like you mentioned, business and money, to spiritual clutter and mental clutter and emotional relationship clutter and things like that. And that's basically what the series was about. This book behind me right now, Make Room, that's my newest one. And that's like a deeper look at just an approach to life. And it talks about my 10P principles in depth. And it's also a more inside look at my life doing this for 20 years and what it's taught me and client stories and stuff like that. But the biggest thing I want people to take away from that is that you can get excited about this approach, and that you have a choice at any given moment to choose to live life differently if it's not working for you right now. You can find a new way. And this book kind of is a kind of a new approach to organization, stuff that you haven't heard over and over and over, because at this point, there's a lot of things that, we've heard a lot and we know that we should do them. Doesn't mean we're going to do them, but we know we should. This book hopefully will get you excited to do it.
That's awesome. Now, where can people find them? How can they get your books?
So they're on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, basically anywhere books are sold, and they're all available. And yeah, I'd love for you to grab a copy.
And I'll definitely put the Amazon links in the show notes as well, so people can just go directly there. And so one of the other things that I always love to ask my guests about is gratitude, because I think that's also a huge part of our self-care that we don't always realize. And so what would you say are some of the top 2 or 3 things you're the most grateful for?
So I'm at this point in my life, I'm super grateful for having a platform, because when you first start a business, you're just like, is this even going to work? Mm-hmm. I'm so grateful that it's continued to take me to new levels of business, but also growth within myself that, like I mentioned earlier in my story, if you would have told me I would be doing these things 20 years ago, I would have been like, what? Are you serious? Like 5 books? No, I didn't. None of this was planned. I think what is the thing I'm most grateful for is I've learned to just be open to whatever life has. And I truly live that life is happening for me. Mm-hmm. So, that's one. I'm super grateful right now in my life to be able to see my kids, even though they're far away. And again, that was part of a building process of many years, a culmination of many years of planning that this is what we wanted at this point in our life. And so I feel grateful that I have the capability to see them, that I can jump on a plane and it's not that far, but also that my kids are at the age where we're starting to become friends. I think that's really cool too. And then the third thing I'm most grateful for is I have been married 24 years to my high school sweetheart. And that's another thing. You never know how things are going to turn out. But the fact that we're still having a great time as empty nesters 24 years later is mind-boggling to me. And just, it makes life so much better to be doing that with somebody that you actually enjoy spending time with. So I'm grateful for that as well.
I love it. Those are all such powerful things. So thank you, Jennifer. And thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said, grab a pen, go back and re-listen to this, because she gave some amazing tips to be able to start. Grab a copy of her books, and I can't wait to see you again soon, Jennifer.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Daniela.
Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger. As well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.